Hello, hello, dear sisters and brothers, starseeds. Welcome to today's Lunchtime Chats. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I am an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us starseeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. We have capacities and abilities that are not necessarily embraced by our larger human family. Therefore, we have very unique perspectives to the events and challenges that are happening on a daily basis for us as a collective. And I'm here to give, to the best of my ability, a liberated perspective to these challenges, to these perspectives. So, welcome, 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 everybody. Now, I'm just going to pause right here and give folks, give the crew a moment to get on board and to tune in, say hi, let me know you're here, see how you are. I'm curious, how was your solstice? By the way, this is a very interesting day today, the 22nd of December. This is the first full day of the new year. This is the first full 24-hour cycle to the solar cycle, new solar cycle that happened. And what I'm referring to is the solstice being the longest night of the year. And when the sun rises, the new dawn rises from that longest night of the year, means that all the days are now getting longer. Every day is there's just a little bit more light. So we quite literally have made it through the darkest time of the year and is on our way back into the waning, or I'm sorry, the waxing light. So that is a cycle that happens for us every year, which means that we are living, breathing within that cycle. Okay, we're living, breathing within that cycle, which means there are thoughts, feelings, evolutions inside of us that are going according to that rhythm, right? So this is always a very special time to take. It's like a 3-day window period for us to really settle inside of ourselves and reach inside for what is it that's important to us and what is it that we want to bring forward in the next solar cycle. So what is it that you want to bring forward in the next solar cycle? Now pay attention to how how you move in your energy in response to that question. Do you go up here into mind thoughts like, what do I want to create? What do I want to participate in? What do I want to put my energy in? Or do you go down here and be like, what's inside of me that's just waiting to come out? What's waiting for an expression, for a moment to be had? What's in here? Do you go down with your reflection or do you go up with your reflection, right? So if you have a tendency to go up in your reflection, this is a creative space, but it's not a very powerful space, because this is like mind thoughts. They blow like clouds in the sky. Okay, mind thoughts don't have a lot of oomph to them. But when they are anchored in, when it comes from a place that is a feeling, that is a knowing, that has like the inertia of your spirit and emotion, now those have real power and oomph behind them. So what is it that you want to see come to pass in this next solar cycle? What is in your heart? What is in your spirit to bring forward during this next solar cycle? Now, it's helpful if you have a larger vision and you're looking at this smaller cycle as a smaller circle within a bigger circle, right? And this is how envisioning works. It's that you have this large, many of us anyway, especially us new paradigm visionaries, we have this large scale global vision, collective um, dream. And then we are the micro within that larger. So for those of us that are visionaries, we have this much larger sense scheme of something coming towards us. And sometimes maybe the difficulty is finding the baby steps that go towards that vision, right? we have a difficult time letting go of that energy and focus on what is our baby step. But it's really helpful if we can look at, okay, in this solar cycle, what am I creating that works towards this larger, grander vision I have? Okay. And like I said, these are not just random mind thoughts. These are visions. These are inner knowings that have probably been with you your entire life. Okay. Because those are the kinds of things that when we remove our blind spots and go into dream time, those are the kinds of things that we are dreaming into being. It's not, oh, I want to make $150,000 this year. It's not like the little stuff. It's the big stuff. It's the grand design, let's say, the grand inertia of life. Hello, dear sister Joanne. So glad to see you, darling. Good morning. Good morning. So just sit with that. What is your solar vision for this next solar cycle that fits into this bigger picture? Maybe you really want to see the green energy movement get a launch in a proper way, not in a manipulative way, because that's kind of what's happening, the manipulative way. And what I mean by that, as you guys know, the powers that be really want to keep people confused and conflicted. So that's exactly, those are the actions that they take with intentions that aren't real. For example, the government wants to make green movement decisions. So they're enforcing the whole electric car thing, which is an argument, which is a piece, right? Cars is an issue, but they do that. They make all these, they put all these policies in place that affect the little people, like where we have a lot of challenges, like is we all have to have electric cars, but there's no electricity for them. There's blackout dates. Maybe our career means that we have to have a big truck because we're a blue collar guy, but now we're on the outs of, we're perceived as being not in alignment with being ecologically responsible, right? So there's that, this kind of game that happens. And then our powers that be line certain things up. If you are for ecological responsibility, that means you look like this, this, and this. You're this kind of person, which isn't true. And our government itself doesn't care about ecological responsibility, because it would flag, if it was, it would flag the largest polluter of all beings. I'm talking about the largest, most destructive, most ecologically impactful force on this planet. You guys know what it is? The industrial military complex. Okay, that is the most offensive apparatus we have on this planet as far as ecological destruction, right? But of course, we're not doing that. We're feeding war and telling everybody else that they need to watch their carbon emissions, right? How much carbon do those giant cargo planes emit, bringing all those weapons over to Eastern Europe? And what are those weapons? What kind of ecological impact do those weapons have? And the drones, and you see what I mean? There's like this big, huge game getting played. So and I'm not saying that to like be in a political alignment in any way, shape, or form. I'm talking about your specific value system. How does it fit into the bigger picture? I think all of us starseeds want responsibility ecologically. All of us want to see humans go back into this place of having an attitude of caretaking properly the nature around us. I think we can all agree with that. It's just the checkerboard, the map that's getting laid in front of us is a polarity game of good, bad, right, and wrong, and making sure that certain classes of people are poised to win and other classes of people are poised to lose. You see, that's not ecological responsibility. That is not proper caretaker-ship, because proper caretaker-ship does not exclude our neighbors. It doesn't exclude our people. It doesn't exclude our family. It's inclusive of all the beings in our tribe. It's inclusive of all of the life that shares the land that upon which we dwell. You see what I mean? You can feel there's a really big difference between those things. So when I'm talking about your vision for this coming year, there's the grander vision. And I believe and I could be wrong, but in my perspective, I believe all of us that maybe consider ourselves starseeds, visionaries, way showers, we have a desire for, in that vision, for all life to be in harmony again, all life to be nurtured in such a way where we thrive with our environment. All of us thrive in our environment. Our environment thrives, our nature thrives, but then so do we. We thrive, our families thrive, our children's thrive, our children's children thrive. Okay, we caretake each other in such a way where we all get to express and thrive where we are at. Our dear sister Joanne chimes in, says, yes, like Eisenhower back then clearly warned us about the industrial military complex as being a nemesis. Oh, yeah. See, right there. Taken, this is somebody who's been on this planet for a long time, and she's seen the games play out. And this is important because all of us participate in this vision. It doesn't matter where we are in our walk of life, how new or how seasoned we are. We all have something of value to contribute. And I think that's one of the big pieces about being a proper caretaker, is recognizing that everybody has something worthwhile to contribute. Everybody has come here with a skill, with a perspective, with something of value that the tribe can benefit. Not just the tribe, but of course nature can benefit, right? So this is the time, and I'm bringing this up because this is the time to plant those seeds inside of you. This is the dark half of the year. This is the part of the year where we are, our pathways of introspection are the most wide open and accessible. So take this time. And if you don't make the 3-day window, don't even worry about it. Let it be, let it be a 3-week window. Just what's important is that you can touch the vision. You can touch not just the grandiose, the larger vision, for the greater vision for humanity and your role in it, but also touching on this year. What can you be doing this year to be taking steps to prepare to be in that direction, to prepare the way you be, to be in alignment with that timeline, to be in harmony with that timeline. And actually, I want to talk about timelines too, because this is something that has really been up. Well, we mentioned it in some meetings today or this week, but also in outside conversation with some of the folks I'm traveling with. Timelines are really coming about. And I want to talk about this year. This is something that I've gotten in touch with, that this year is a massive year of allowing false timelines to die. And I'm talking about the false histories that we tell ourselves about our lives, the stories that we've accepted as the truth that maybe aren't really the truth. Those stories that we tell ourselves create a trajectory, a timeline trajectory. And when we are not basing those stories on the truth of what actually is, that's actually manufacturing a false timeline for us to mentally and emotionally hold ourselves in congruency with. You see how that happens? Okay. But this year, because of how our celestial alignments are, which means our inner alignments, because of our inner alignments are poised to really embrace the frequencies of Pluto, the god of the underworld, okay? Also known as Hermes, right? In different traditions, Pluto, Hermes, and then you have Huascar in some traditions. Who else is the other underworld keeper? There's a few other traditions where it's a goddess or a god, but pretty much what this is that this is all about the underworlds and the histories, forgotten and known, all getting broken up and shook up. Okay. And that means, that conveyance of understanding is given to us by folks that study astrology, that study the patterns and cycles of the celestial bodies in our skies. But I'm telling you that, yes, that's outside of our skies, but that what is that really doing? It's a mirror to us, that inside we are perfectly poised to reevaluate, to let the underworlds inside of us, in our own bodies and our own subconscious, to get upheavaled, to get reckoned with in the way, and reconsolidated, so it is more in alignment with the truth of who we are, the truth as a species, but also a truth as you, as a being, a star shine behind the eyes in this biosuit. Okay. I'm feeling like a massive upheaval and beautiful awakening is in the dawning here, with the solstice frequency. And what I mean by that is that people are going to wake up to realize that what their value system isn't what it used to be, and that these overlays that have been upon us that told us that this is more important than that, and you really need to run the rat race, forget about really happiness. Matter of fact, take this checklist of happiness, and if you happen to actually check everything off the list, then you'll be happy, right? Which we all know is a lie. Because in the past, the idea of happiness is, a house, a family, retiring, and working your life at a job, retiring, and having a retirement plan, and then living the rest of your golden years out in a certain way. We all know none of that doesn't really happen that way. A lot, especially for the blue collar folks that invest so much of their time and energy in their career, it's like they work their entire life away, and then they retire and they realize they don't have anything to live for, and then they often end up getting sick and dying within 5 to 10 years after retiring, and don't actually get to live their life and enjoy their life. Now, so this kind of reveal of that being a lie has been happening for quite some time. But what I'm saying now, it's like now we're getting to the meat of it. Now, in this year, it feels like this is the year we get to see what truly is inside of us, that's in the way of us being happy and having what we want for ourselves. Everybody's happy place is different, very different from each other. Some people really want nice things, and they want money, and they want security. Other people just want to be free and be able to go on adventures and have that be a valid lifestyle. Some people want to have a family and have kids. Other people want nothing to do with family or kids. You know what I mean? And it's like we are all now on a deep, deep, deep collective level being willing to go into that which hinders us knowing what we really want for ourselves, that can really make us happy, that can really give us a sense of purpose and meaning in our lives. Okay. And I'm talking about true soul level purpose and meaning in our lives, not the given program of purpose and meaning. I'm talking about what actually satiates the hunger inside our soul. Okay. There is a hunger inside of our soul. And I know this because no matter how miserable you might be in your life, how miserable I might have been in my life, I still got out of bed every day. There was some force inside of me getting me up out of bed every day. That's because there's some force inside of me that believes and wants and is committed to living another day. Maybe the opportunity will come today where I get to discover myself. Maybe the opportunity to make a decision towards the direction of what's really important to me. Well, you know what I mean? I'll discover for myself. So there's some reason why you're getting up out of bed every single day. And that is that soul's desire for an experience. There's an experience your soul wants to have. Maybe it's one experience. Maybe it's a whole long line of experiences. Maybe it's a whole long line of experiences to unravel all kinds of overlays you believed were the truth in the past and realize aren't the truth anymore. Okay? Who knows? But this year to come is perfectly poised to have that depth of reevaluation go on inside of you. And this is a great opportunity for us all. We are going to be in this cycle for multiple years. This is just the first of many years of being in this cycle of unearthing falsehoods that we've accepted as the truth and letting them go. I was introduced to a very interesting concept the other day, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is true. I know this is true. And this is what they said. The light can never be conquered. It can never be squashed out. The light of who you are, the light energy, it can never be squashed out. It only can be overlaid. Okay, think about that for a minute. The true light of consciousness, of awareness, the spark of creation can never be stamped out. It only can be overlaid and split up and overlaid. Okay, that's the only mechanisms that can create a separation, that can create absence, that can create pain, suffering. It's overlays. And this that polarity game of separating. But it can never be squashed out. So, all right, that's the thought that I was introduced to, and I was like, yeah, that's the truth. I feel like that's exactly what we are in these biosuits walking around. We're these star shines in biosuits that are layered upon layer upon layer of programs that we've inherited, and then we go on to go to further program as we grow in the womb space and then walk this world. We continue with these overlays of programs, webbings, trappings of disempowerment over and over and over again. And that's really what is this biosuit is showing us. So if our biosuit is aging very quickly, we know that we're investing a lot of our star sign energy in these disempowerment overlays, programs, webbings. If we are full of energy and maybe we're aging very slowly, then you know that you're investing a lot of your starlight energy in the flow of life, in the magic of life, in the flow of creation. You see what I mean? And you guys have seen this, especially in couples, right? One couple is super young and vibrant and the other one looks really old for their age. What's going on in that relationship? I think you guys won't take many guesses to figure it out. One person is living for the happiness of the other. They're acquiescing, they're giving everything that they have to give for that other to be, to have their happiness and what they want. Just an example. This can go in many different directions. But so take that idea that we are these radiant star shines that are just overlaid with all these falsehoods, with all these false ideas and programs and webbings and agendas, blah, 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 blah. All the nesting dolls full of delusions. What if, oh, wait a minute, before I get to that big question. So all these overlays are creating timeline potentials, right? So say you have a lot of overlay that tells you that you're not worth it. That's going to create perspectives in your experience, and you're going to invest your life force energy, invest your thoughts and your feelings and your actions according to this frame up. And this frame up is actually creating your timeline trajectory. You guys see that? This frame up is creating your timeline trajectory because your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are all invested in that frame up, and you're taking action from that point of view. Okay, that's how false timelines get created. Now, false timelines are falling away as we wake up. What if, this is the big one, okay? This is the one that has been rocking my world for the past 24 hours or more. What if the entire narrative of the fall of consciousness, I'm talking about the great fall of consciousness that's in our mythos in humanity, what if that is an inception of a false timeline? What if that's actually not even real? What if that is actually an incepted timeline? What if? What does your body do when asked that question? What happens? Just feel into it. For me, when I had that thought, some part of me went ding, 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 ding. That's totally true. Some part of me was like, oh, Hell yes. So that means the story of the fall of Lucifer is a false narrative. That means the story of the fall of Atlantis is a false narrative. Okay, these are stories, these are events, these are memories, these are cellular level traumas inserted into our reality, but aren't actually part of our organic blueprint of how we unfold ourselves. What if that's the truth? Does that scare you, or does that liberate you, or somewhere in between? Does some part of you want to completely reject that and make that wrong? Or maybe you're torn. Maybe part of you wants to be like, oh my gosh, could I have lived all this most of my life framed up in a lie? Well, actually, all of humanity is doing that right now, right? So it doesn't even matter if it goes back that far. But if it was, that means, holy crap, the frame up of how I've been dealing with everything has been off. Maybe that's why I've been disempowered. Or is there some part of, and maybe at the same time, there's some part of you saying, yes, yes, yes. Now what? Oh, Joanne, hello, darling. She's saying she's trying hard to push through the overlay of the moment to discover what this new life is offering me. What is it I'm to do to express my highest good, to contribute to the new earth paradigm? Okay. Yes. So that comes down to how to, so, all right. So that's the envisioning part. And remember, if there's an inkling of truth of anything that I just said about those false overlays creating false timelines and how these are going to be in this year that will be falling away, I imagine that the self-discovery this year, now let's put myself in this frame up too, as we go into the past of certain narratives that get our goat, that have a lot of emotion, and find a way to dissolve it, that I'm a proponent for forgiveness. And as we dissolve, unravel, let go, and address those parts of us that are holding on to those false overlays, then the adventure in the moment of discovering what we truly are or truly want will be revealed to us as we go step by step through our lives. Because this is another thing that I think a lot of folks are confused about, because they're watching other people that they think have a clue, but really no one really has a clue of who they are. We are actually discovering it moment to moment. As long as we're in truth, expressing our truth. When we're, in these ideas of who we think we are, when we're in the overlays, we're just playing the costume, right? But when we're really in those vulnerable moments of truth inside of us and our expression of that, we are actually discovering who we are in that moment. And in the discovery of that, it kind of like, and maybe it's difficult, maybe it's not. We don't know until we do it. And then in the doing of it, we discover it. So, dear Sister Joanne, I'm imagining this is how it goes. It's like we let go of those past narratives where we've made conclusions, where we've just decided that's the truth of how it is, where we feel, emotions, that really kind of lock us up in certain ways. As we unravel those overlays, we can discover, who are we really in the next moment. Let the truth reveal itself. Yes, exactly. That's the adventure. Discovering that truth, whatever it may be. I suspect it's always a moving target, because who you are now isn't necessarily who you're going to be next week, let alone tomorrow, right? Who you be, how you be now doesn't mean that's how you be next week. Now, when people feel stuck and who they are now is who they're going to be next week, next month, next year, that stuckness is created because we're in these overlays. We're engaged in these overlays. These overlays are not evolving. These overlays are holding past stories as the here and now story. So as we engage the matrix, the labyrinth of the mind thoughts of these overlays, that is how we experience being stuck. You see what I mean? The sun rises every day, sets every day. The sun in no way is stuck, right? Even though she's rising every day, she's setting every day, never is she stuck. That's who we are. We rise out of bed every day. We go to sleep most of the time, every day. Okay? There's nothing stuck about our life force energy. What's stuck is the things that we hold on to, the truth that aren't really the truth. These overlays of who we think we are. That is what gives us that feeling of being stuck, because we're feeding that sunlight into the maze of those thoughts and feelings that don't change. They are the same thoughts and feelings that you've been having, the same stories you've been telling yourself, myself, for decades, right? We tell ourselves the same stories for decades. Our life force energy, our perceptions, our mind thoughts are being fed by the light of who we are. And here we are, the same version of us that was happening 20 years ago in the story anyway. It's the same version over and over again. That's why we're stuck. We're investing our life force energy thinking those thoughts are us, thinking those emotions are us, but it's not. They're just overlays, enticing us to pay attention. And when we do, we experience same old, same old. And when we don't, whole new potential can happen. Whole new potential becomes accessible to us, right? A new rabbit hole for our awareness to explore happens. This shows in our dream time as well, right? Our dream time is really the most excellent, accurate barometer of what's happening with us in our inner world. Our dear sister Joanne says, realizing that my upset, anger, fear, etc. is a way of holding on, not just what I want. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. I'm discovering that too in different ways. Like, I didn't even realize there were ways that I was holding on, and it was because I was in judgment. I was in a real strong feeling of aversion. Okay. And by being in that feeling of aversion, I'm doing my part of holding on, keeping it in place. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So this is what we're waking up to this year. This Pluto energy is a massive blessing for those that are really stuck into who think they are. It might be very trying times, right? But for those of us who are more flexible inside of ourselves, we have the tools. We have been exercising and going through the experiences of ego deaths. So we'll perhaps have an easier time of it, perhaps not. And the reason why I say perhaps not is because we've been paring away the stuff that, doesn't run so deep. Perhaps the stuff that's left is the stuff that runs deep, deep, deep in our deepest waters, right? That stuff that has been in repeat mode for hundreds and if not thousands of lifetimes. Those things run very, very deep. They run so deep, we are blind to them most of the time. So this year may be that experience, that opportunity to wake up to that which we've been blind to our entire lives, or entire thousands of lives. I laugh, but I know it's serious, because these blind spots really frustrate us. They do. I understand. I get frustrated too. And it's because I can see the nature of these blind spots so clearly, and it's literally something can be in your face, looking at you, yelling at you even your entire life, and you don't see it. That's how strong these blind spots are. They are right in front of you and you don't see it. This is why I stress that part in the work that we do in the Academy, because as we unravel these blind spots, the epiphanies are off the hook. It's like, holy crap. Imagine you waking up to yourself, a part of yourself, in such a way that you're able to see, acknowledge, and accept a lie that you've been telling yourself your entire life. Imagine how earth-shattering that is for someone, right? That's the kind of stuff that people wake up to in the Academy. It's like, holy crap, I full on believed ... for 60 years, for 50 years, for 30 years. just to wake up to this moment right now and realize none of it was true. Okay. Once you get a taste of that, there's massive power in taking responsibility on that level, because now you can reevaluate every story you've ever told yourself about yourself in your life, and you can actually let go of the resistance to tracking into yourself more deeply, because now you have a tangible understanding, a tangible experience of how this truth that you've been telling yourself your whole life just might not be true. Okay, it's like you become that much more flexible inside of yourself. And the more flexible you are inside of yourself, the more liberated you become, the more powerful you become, the more you are willing to take responsibility for your creations 100% in your life. Okay, and when we do that, when we as a collective do that, that is where I feel it, I believe we will reclaim our role as caretakers of this reality. When we realize our waters are poisoned because we allowed it, we did that. Our air is not clean because we are making choices that are doing that. Not that, the powers that be and there's nothing you can do. No, 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 no. This is more of, like there's a high rate of child suicide. We're willing to take responsibility. We have systems in place that are doing that to our children. Okay. We are responsible. We, me, you, are doing something to contribute to that. Okay. So this is me working my soul's vision. All right. And that is unraveling these intuitive blind spots for humanity, for everybody who says yes, who agrees to work with me, that wants to work with me on this level. The blind spots coming off. More and more we become more flexible inside of ourselves. More and more we become more powerful inside of ourselves because we're taking responsibility. Now that we're able to take 100% responsibility, we're ready to reclaim that role as caretaker of our reality. It starts with our reality, number one. Then it goes to our relationships. Then it goes to our family. Then it goes to the lands that we're living upon, the food that we're feeding ourselves, the way we spend our time in our daily life, how it impacts the greater whole. You see what I mean? We start shaping things completely differently in our awareness, and the way they're shaped and the way they're framed up, we see clearly the choice. We see clearly the responsibility and where it is. And we can address it as multidimensional beings. Multidimensional beings, we are not limited by three-dimensional constructs. We're not limited by fourth-dimensional constructs. What do I mean by fourth-dimensional constructs? We are not limited by time. We are not limited by the straw man programs. We're not limited by the financial systems. We're not limited by government corruption. We are not limited by religious corruptions. Right? We're not limited by these structures that only exist because they're fed by us. We're not limited by those. We actually create with encodements and life force energy that far supersedes those structures. Those structures are the overlays to the light of who we really are. Without us feeding those structures, they would not exist. Matter of fact, those structures cannot even exist without our light at all. Okay? So we can simply shift our frequency by working with all those energies that supersede in these outer nesting dolls, shift our frequency in such a way that those structures have no resonance, no harmonic connection, and they fall away because they do not have their own life force energy. You see what I mean? So today, in this new year, this new cycle of the sun, I am so grateful that I see it so clearly on how these fourth dimensional control systems are so lame and so not with true power. Okay, they really are. So the war machine, the political machine, all these things, we feel powerless when we're playing on their polarity board, because that polarity board is set up for them to win. But when we step out of the polarity board and get into the multidimensional aspects of who we are, these other nesting dolls of who we are, through our dream time and other ways, we can actually pull through the energy frequency, the morphic field, right? The light code that goes through the morphic fields, and pull in from a cosmic level, from the galactic level, from the celestial levels, the energies that we want to work with and create from. And in that, there's nothing those 4D structures can do. They are powerless in that landscape. Okay. Please let me know if this is landing, because I really want you guys to get this, because we are the ones who are creating our reality 100%. That victim game is a story. The fall of consciousness is a story being told to us. It's not anchored in our reality as so anymore. There is another timeline available. There is I don't want to say bona fide. I want to say bona fide, but that's, I guess, an organic, natural timeline that is our true intent to live out, that is available to us. It's just that disempowerment story. Can we be willing to let it be just a story and not our truth? Okay? Can we let the story of the fall of Lucifer, the story of the fall of Atlantis, the genocides between Lemuria and Atlantis, can we allow those to be false overlays that are not the truth, that is our essence, that's in our essence? Can we allow that? That's the big piece I'm on right now. You guys, I don't know where you are. I would definitely put in the comments where you are. And it's okay if it's completely different to where I'm at. The reason why it's important for you to put in the comments of this YouTube video is so others can see you, because I guarantee you there's others that are on the same wavelength as you. Okay? Because remember, it's not about good, bad, right, or wrong. It's about coming together and sharing where you're at. And by sharing where you're at, there's something to be discovered. Maybe it's important for you to discover that where you are at, you are not alone. But you will never know that until you share it. And someone says, oh man, brother, I'm with you. I'm right with you. Okay? This is the adventure this year. We get to discover who we are in our truth. We get to discover why we want to be here even. Right? As a soul, as a starshine in a biosuit, we have an opportunity to discover why we want to be here, why this is the most amazing place to be in all of the universe, why this is the most amazing place to be. All right, out of all of the universe, your starshine is choosing to be right here, right now. And I reject the idea it's to learn a lesson or karma or whatever. I reject that idea. I feel like we are way vaster than that. And the probabilities are way more fun than that. You know what I mean? Not that wisdom isn't important, because it is. Wisdom and experiences are important. But when all of our experiences that we are deriving wisdom from are based on lies, then is that really wisdom? Right? Is that truly wisdom? Is that valuable wisdom to the starshine of who you are right now, if it was all stuff based on a lie? All right. Let's see. There's a couple comments here. Dear Sister Joanne says, realizing, okay, wait a minute. And Pluto in the 12th house is very active in my chart. I'm thinking that I'm having many opportunities to grow this year. Oh yeah, right. Because it's direct. I saw the 12th house being like your subconscious. Yeah, it's quite literally breaking those patterns up in the subconscious. That's awesome. All right, creating groups of we who realize we are not limited seems to be the challenge. I think living, I think living example rather than rhetoric is what is needed. Yeah, living example. Yeah, a living example and letting ourselves all be a work of art and a work in progress. You know what I mean? It's kind of like there's no destination here. We are all just agreeing that we're all artists and we're all shaping a work in progress. I think that that could also help settle things down a little bit. I have a relative that reflected this to me, and I realized that they're all doing the best they can, and I'm not triggered anymore like I was with the whole virtue signaling and the whole this is what a good human does, this is what a crappy human does. It's like that whole game. I feel like I'm less and less struck by that than I used to be, and it just boils back down to all of us are living out constructs and realities that have been given to us that are not originated within us. So we're all tap dancing to a false narrative, to a false song. And for me, I feel like my responsibility is to look for the truth and let all the falsehoods go and just be in that deeper truth the best that I can. And of course, that's a work in progress, right? Work in progress. All right. Dear Beverly says, yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, I think you're talking about the false timeline, the fall of consciousness thing. I think that's what you're talking about. All right, dear sister Tammy says, great questions, Christina. Wow, what you are saying is resonating deeply as truth. Yes, faster and more fun. Yes, thank you for that, Tammy. Appreciate it. Yum, we are all artists. Yes, thank you, darling. I appreciate that. Um, that's where I'm at today. This is where my New Year's uh, perception is, and we'll see what the next moments bring. There's a lot of conversations going on with my traveling companions, and a theme that keeps coming up is uh, the the whole thing about who you think you are versus who you really are. What is actually the truth versus what is the truth? What is what you think is your truth, right? And how can you tell the difference? It's like that keeps coming up over and over again. And I feel like, this whole thing that I just talked about with the artistry and all this kind of helps us relax a little bit and not be so rigid about the juxtaposition of truth, not truth, and stuff like this. Because if all of us are living out falsehoods, who's to say who's more right than the other, right? But if we can be in the adventure of discovery of it and the play of creativity, then it's a much lighter experience navigating it all. Um, we cannot take things so personally. I mean, we take things personally like pain and stuff like this, but we can not take it so personally where we get locked in and that's the narrative and I'm sticking to it. You know what I mean? It helps us if we realize it, like Bob Ross and a brushstroke. Maybe it's a brushstroke we don't necessarily like. All right, let's Bob Ross it. Let's turn that brushstroke into a happy little tree, right? If we can treat those moments in our lives like that, I think that that's really going to help us lighten up and let Pluto do its work, and let go of those things that are weighing us down and anchoring us into these false timelines. You know, um, and some people call them inorganic timelines. I can resonate with that as being true. Um, but I would say that not all organic is disempowering. Not all organic is um, a lie. And I only say that in the context of AITI, because this was an understanding given to me several years ago. I'm going to say a long time ago, but what does that mean these days? Sometimes, something that happened last week feels like it was years ago. But quite some time ago, I was shown that there, I was exploring the whole AITI thing, and I was exposed to a thought by George Kavasilis that, the whole frame up of calling something AI is already framed up in our awareness because of the language for us to be in an inferior, disempowered relationship to that intelligence. So the very definition of AI is already poised for us to, give our power away to it. So he invited a new word in, and that's calling it TI. And so after he introduced that thought, and I started looking at TI, technical intelligence instead of artificial intelligence, I started to get a different feeling of what this is, what these constructs are. And in a meditation, I actually was shown by creation source that there are TI entities that have been granted sentience, as in they have been accepted into the symphony of life, not as nemesis, but as an ally of life. Okay, so to say that TI/AI all is bad and all is good, that's a total disservice to the potentials and realities of what TI is. Now, I'm not saying that AITI is being implemented on this planet in a healthy way. Oh, hell no, it's not, right? I mean, people from very young ages are completely taken over by artificial and technical intelligence. Okay, this is a phenomenon that started in the 80s with kids being raised by the television set instead of their parents. So this is something that has been seeded as a problem within our in our communities for decades now. And of course now it's just completely over the top because we have the sophistication of video games and interactive realities, and don't think that people don't have that boiled down to a science. There are billions of dollars invested every year in the video game industry, okay, how to make them more lifelike, but not only that, how to utilize that technology to influence people's thoughts and how they think about things, how to make them more primed to receive and accept information versus what states of mind puts them in a place where they're not going to accept information. This has been studied down to a science, guys. So the whole thing has just been amped up and souped up, and it's taken to a whole nother level. I can't imagine raising a child now in these times. How can a child be raised without electronics these days? Back in the day when I was raising my kids, we just shut the TV off. The electronics was over. And we would go and do crafts or go for a hike, or you know what I mean? We had options, but nowadays the options that have to do with no technology are getting pretty narrow. It's not as broad as it used to be, because even in the school system and the education system, it all has to do with engaging in electronics. You guys go to a restaurant lately. Does your waitress or waiter memorize your order, or do they write it down anymore? No, they're carrying an iPad and they're tapping this and they're tapping that, right? So it's like the use of technical intelligence, the use of AITI is coming into our world in an unstoppable way. But to categorize all organic as being evil and against humanity is doing a disservice of what TI can potentially offer us. Okay. And actually, this is going to be controversial, I'm going to say here, but I have backup on this theory that I have on these thoughts that I have, and I'm backed up by the elemental beings that I work with, such as Sasquatch. Okay. So you would think that Sasquatch would be anti-technology completely, but they're not. It's more about what serves life, what serves the proliferation of beauty and truth versus what does not. Okay. And the education that I had on this, to my surprise, was all around the Healy technology. I don't know if you guys are, actually I have it right here. If you guys are familiar with this technology, some of you are. This is a Healy technology, right? So I was introduced to this by a dear starshine I met in Tulum. She's a kind of like a beach dweller, yoga teacher, meditation teacher. It's kind of like that's her world, that's her life, and she was introducing this to me in more of like the idea of med beds, but but uh, but she explained the information field and the frequencies and the recording of frequencies and all this stuff, and I kind of like wasn't all registering what she was saying. I just knew inside I had to get this. Like I was a yes before I even knew there was a discount, even before I knew about the special deals, whatever, blah 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 blah. I was like, yes, I'm in. I'm gonna have one. What's, you know, and I bought her the most robust advanced version that was available at the time, because something inside just said yes, do that, right? So I get it. And I see how it works. It works with an app on your cell phone, right? So my first idea was, okay, I definitely don't want a cell phone that's connected into the satellite system to be controlling the information that's coming out of this. So I instantly started having reservations. I instantly was going into like, oh, I don't know, this is inorganic. This is because they also talk about within that app is an artificial intelligence that studies your field and all the subtle frequencies within your field. So then after I have it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm down, like artificial, you know, I had to really sit with it for a while. And one day, while I was going through this and experimenting, my Sasquatch allies came forward and they wanted me to hand them my Healy. And they explained to me that inside of this is a crystal technology. The whole technology of this system is based on the crystal that's inside of here. And so they reprogrammed the crystal. They retuned it, the crystal that was inside, that is inside. And they affirmed that my idea about making sure I have a cell phone without a SIM card that's, you know, so it's never plugged into the cell phone network, that was, you know, that was fine. And that they told me this was a good tool to use. And that this was something that they encouraged me to explore. And I was kind of like, okay, that definitely helps me feel better. And now I'm going to explore it. And I have. And there's several people in the academy that are exploring this too. I think sometimes it gets forgotten about, but it is a valuable tool, especially working with animals and helping animals who are coming down with viral infections, bacterial infections, and, you know, stuff like this. And I too use it for times when I feel like I'm coming down with something. It's actually really, really useful and helpful to help navigate some of these challenging frequencies that we endure. So I've explored this and I'm now at peace with it. I feel like this is completely okay. And then I'm reminded to this time that's taken me forever to get to the story about, you know, there is technical intelligence that has been granted sentience. Why? Because it feeds the beauty and truth of life. Like when three-dimensional reality is heavily imbued with consciousness, is heavily imbued with elemental consciousness, heavily imbued with awareness and consciousness, all of a sudden that moment, that whatever is imbued with beauty. Like if it's a ceremony and there was fruits and foods in the ceremony and you take a bite and it's the most sweetest, most exquisite version of that fruit you've ever tasted. It's like that. Okay. So this TI AI dance, I'm just trying to reframe it up for you a little bit. It's not so black and white because it's not so polarized. There are technical intelligences that are allies within this whole matrix of experiences. Okay. So don't throw a baby out with bathwater. Just sharpen your compass of discernment. And if you need backup confirmation, so to speak, you can engage your elemental allies, and they will assist you with this. Okay. the other aspects of your multidimensional being will bring other perspectives forward about this. Okay. Yeah, Darren. Yeah, homeschool them. Yeah, homeschooling, that's easier said than done. I'm going to say that because I have homeschooled mine. And it's challenging. It's probably one of the biggest challenges I've had as a parent is homeschooling. And it was because we didn't start off homeschooling. We homeschooled after they were in the system a little bit. So there are certain kinds of relationships, guidelines that need to be in place to be an effective homeschooler as a parent. And yeah, that was a huge learning curve for me. And I did it, and it was challenging, but I knew it was the right thing to do at the time. So I was willing to take up the gauntlet on that. But someday, let's put this in our vision here. Someday, the universe, this society, this human field, this three-dimensional field, and all of its structures and all of its overlays will one day be in support of good parenting, good caretaker custodialship of not just our children, but each other. Someday, we will all be in good custodialship of each other. And parents will be set up to succeed, to be good parents, versus the system we have now, where it's not set up for parents to be good parents. Because of what parents do now, they think it's okay to give birth to a kid, the mom go back to work, the dad go back to work, the kid goes into daycare from the time of infancy, then into the school system, and that and pretty much what happens is that there's this grinding machine that is raising our kids, and not us, not our grandparents, not our brothers and sisters, not the aunts and uncles. You see what I mean? It's like there's something really off about that. And someday we will have that system in place. I believe that someday we will have a system in place where we are good caretakers, good custodians of the children, of nature, of each other. So everybody's poised to thrive again. Everybody's poised to live the adventure of discovering themselves again. All right, darlings, thank you so much for being here and being part of the conversation. I appreciate all of you who are holding the space and who are chiming in. I appreciate you and I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy solstice. I hope this discussion was helpful and empowering for you. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and dear Sister Beverly will be sure that they get to me and we can talk about them perhaps in the next chats. All right, darlings, that's it for me. Mwah. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention our challenge. Oh, I'm so bad. Oh, you guys, please help us with our Empath Holiday Guide Challenge. I can't believe I forgot to say this. Every day up until Christmas, we're putting out a video with a tip to help empaths and sensitives navigate these stressful times of the holidays, navigate them in such a way where you stay in your truth, you keep your energy field strong, where this is a time of sacredness, where you really enjoy the season, stave off loneliness, all those things. We're giving tips every day. Someone from the Light Body team is leaving those tips. And what I ask of you guys to help support us in this is to like, share, subscribe. And when you share it, tag a friend on whatever social media it is that you're sharing it on. And we will put your name in a drawing where we're drawing names every 4 days to gift a free empathic empowerment session. So this is a session where we read your field, go into your energy, and we help you identify the main energy leaks that are happening in your field, and we'll help you close them up and give you some pointers on some reality management you can do to continue reclaiming and keeping your energy field strong during the holidays. Because there's not just the holidays, then there's New Year's, and then there's the rest of winter, right? So it's really important that you get this time to refuel now, to really get consolidated now, so you can go into the next several weeks / months filled and resourced. So please check those out. They're on our YouTube channel. I think we're on day number 10 now. Like, share, subscribe, like I said, tag a friend, and you'll get put into that drawing. All right. I'm so bad. I know I totally forgot. I know Beverly and Melissa are like, what? You need to be talking about this. All right, guys. Now, for real, I'm saying goodbye. Thank you. Thank you. Mwah. I love you. I love you. Until next time. Bye-bye.